Hello everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Watch my video and subscribe my channel. You ever been torn between two people you love, and no matter what choice you make, somebody's gonna end up broken? That's my life right now. One man gives me stability, devotion, everything I could ask for, but the other, he's my history, my heartbreak, and the father of my little girl. And just when I thought I had finally moved on, my daughter looks up at me with those big innocent eyes and asks, "Mommy, why don't you just marry Daddy instead?" How do you answer that? Today I'm sharing the story of how Carter, Liam, and my family's future all came crashing together in ways I never saw coming. I don't even know where to begin with this, because if you've ever been caught between two lives, two loves, two possible futures, there's no easy way to explain it. But I'll try, because sometimes saying it out loud, or in my case, writing it down like I'm telling my own story, helps untangle the knots inside your chest. It was one of those glossy afternoons at Forrester Creations, when the sunlight hit the runway in that almost magical way. The fabric swatches on the tables caught the light, almost shimmering like jewels, and Brooke and I were sitting there, both of us more distracted by the matters of the heart than the designs in front of us. My mom, Brooke, has always had this way of steering the conversation back to love, no matter what. Maybe that's her Logan legacy, maybe it's just who she is. But she asked me something that I didn't quite know how to answer. She leaned in, her eyes narrowing just a little in that Brooke Logan way, like she was peeling back all the layers I'd been trying to hide. "Hope," she said, "are you willing to give your family with Liam another try?" It hit me in the gut, not because I hadn't thought about it. God knows I think about Liam all the time, no matter how much I try not to, but because it was my mom asking. She has seen me through everything, the ups and downs, the heartbreak, the betrayals, the endless cycles of reconciliation and collapse. And yet, there she was, asking me if I was willing to open that door again. I told her the truth. Or at least the truth as much as I could face it. I said, "Deacon's been pushing me to get back with Liam." My father, always the dreamer, always wanting to rewrite history and force happy endings, even when the middle chapters were full of chaos. "But I don't know, Mom, what do you think?" She smiled softly, and for a second I thought she was going to remind me of every single reason not to. Liam's indecision, his constant waffling between me and Steffi, the heartbreak he left me with when I thought he'd finally chosen me. But no, that wasn't the Brooke I got that day. Instead, she said, almost forgetting the years of history, "There's been issues with Carter, but you and Liam, you have wonderful memories." And I couldn't help but laugh a little because bananas. Really, Mom? Wonderful memories? We also have some of the darkest days any couple could ever go through. That's when my mind went back, like it always does when Liam comes up, to the worst chapter of our lives. The day Beth died. Or at least the day I was told she did. I don't think I'll ever be able to fully explain what it feels like to lose a child that way. The numbness that comes over you. The way the world stops spinning, but somehow keeps moving at the same time, like you're frozen in grief while everyone else just keeps breathing. I remember collapsing into Liam's arms, screaming from someplace deep inside me that I didn't even know existed. I remember nights curled up on the bathroom floor, too hollow to even cry, just existing in this awful emptiness. And then, months later, when the truth finally came out, that Beth was alive, that our little girl hadn't been taken from us forever, I felt both gratitude and rage, relief and fury, joy and trauma, all tangled together. Liam was there through it all. He held me when I shook with anger at the betrayal. He lifted me when I was too weak to believe it was real. We triumphed in a way. We brought our daughter home together. But here's the thing about surviving tragedy. It doesn't always make you stronger in the way people like to think. Sometimes it scars you so deeply that you can't see love without also seeing the pain attached to it. And maybe, just maybe, that's why I could never fully commit to Thomas. Thomas was a part of that pain. He was tied to the web of lies, the manipulation, the endless gaslighting that kept Beth from me. Even if he's changed now, and maybe he has, Every time I looked at him, a part of me saw those nights of despair. That grief doesn't just disappear. So maybe Mom was right. Maybe those memories with Liam, both the good and the bad, are what tether me to him in a way that I can't fully explain. But at the same time, I couldn't ignore where I was now with Carter. A man who has never lied to me, who has always been steady, supportive, devoted. I remember taking a deep breath and telling my mom, I should go meet up with Carter. Because no matter how tangled my feelings were, I owed him honesty and I owed myself clarity. Mom just smiled, that knowing mother smile, and said, follow your heart. But what happens when your heart is split down the middle? Later, back at the house, it wasn't me who made the whole thing harder, it was Beth. Kids have this uncanny way of cutting through the nonsense adults create for themselves. She looked up at me with those big eyes and asked why I didn't just get back together with her dad. She said Carter made me happy and she liked him, but so did Daddy. She giggled about his corny jokes, which, let's be honest, are painfully corny, but she loves them. And then she asked me why we couldn't just be a family again. Before I could even process that, Ivy stopped by. Sweet, calm Ivy with her soft accent and her kindness. She'd brought jewelry for Beth's daddy/daughter dance, which was already making Beth bounce around with excitement. But Beth, persistent, intuitive Beth, just wouldn't let it go. She asked Ivy, point blank, if she thought her daddy wanted to marry her mommy. Ivy froze, and I could almost see the gears spinning in her head. Before she could answer, Liam stepped in, bless him, and told Beth gently, Mommy's marrying Carter. But Beth just tilted her head, undeterred. What if she wants to marry you instead? That's when my heart cracked in two, because I wanted to protect her, but I also couldn't lie. After Beth was sent upstairs, Ivy and Liam had this quiet talk. I didn't hear all of it, but I caught enough. Ivy said she thought Hope would be crazy to give up the chance to reunite her little family. And Liam, well, he just looked broken. Later, when he was alone, I know he sat there staring at a photo of us, me, him, Beth. I could almost hear his voice whispering, it still could happen for us, Hope. And while all of that was unraveling at home, Carter was busy doing what Carter always does, proving his devotion. At Forrester, he cornered Ridge, giving him the full-court press about hope for the future. He wanted my line back, wanted me to have everything I deserved, wanted me to shine. Ridge surprised him by agreeing. And Carter, always the romantic, let himself get carried away. What a way to start our life together as husband and wife, he said. Thank you. I can still feel the way my chest tightened when Carter pulled me into his arms after saying those words. Let's get married today. He said it with this big, open smile, the kind that radiates from his eyes and makes you believe he'd walk through fire just to keep you safe. And in that moment, I wanted so badly to match his excitement. I wanted to throw my arms around him and say yes, to feel certain, to have that clarity. Because Carter deserves that. He deserves a woman who doesn't hesitate, who doesn't look backward when he's standing right there, offering her a beautiful future. But the truth is, my heart hesitated. My mind raced. All I could think about was Liam. It's ridiculous, isn't it? To stand in front of a man who has never wavered in his devotion to me, who's gone out of his way to prove it, and still feel the ghost of another man tugging at my heartstrings. But that's what it was, like Liam was standing there too, unseen but so present, his history with me woven into every fiber of who I am. I stumbled over my words, trying to buy myself a second of air. Carter, I don't even know what to say right now. I wasn't expecting this. He cupped my cheek, his thumb warm against my skin, and whispered, say yes, Hope. That's all you need to do. And God, a part of me wanted to. But another part of me, the part that remembers the nights with Liam, the laughter, the tears, the way we clung to each other when Beth came home, was screaming at me to stop. Later that night, when I was alone, I sat in Beth's room after she fell asleep. She had her arms wrapped around her stuffed bunny, breathing softly, her hair a little tangled on the pillow. I brushed it back from her face and kissed her forehead, and I just sat there watching her. That's when the guilt hit me like a tidal wave. Because it's not just about me or Carter or Liam. It's about her, about what she needs, about what she feels, about the family she deserves. And the hardest truth? She still dreams about her mom and dad being together. I could hear her words echoing in my mind. What if Mommy wants to marry you instead? The way her little voice wavered with such innocent hope, it broke me. Kids see love so simply. They don't understand all the layers of betrayal, forgiveness, confusion. To her, love means family. Mommy and Daddy together. I wanted to cry right there, but I didn't want her to wake up and see me like that. So I went downstairs, poured myself a glass of water, and sat in the dim kitchen. My mom's words replayed in my head too. Follow your heart. But my heart doesn't give me one clear answer. It's split between two men, two lives, two versions of myself. When Liam showed up later that week to pick up Beth, it only got harder. He had that soft, wistful look in his eyes, like he wanted to say something, but didn't know how. He lingered at the doorway, his hand brushing the photo on the entry table. The one of the three of us at the park, Beth perched on his shoulders, me laughing beside them. He finally spoke, his voice low. You look happy, Hope. With Carter. I swallowed hard. I am. He's good to me. Liam nodded slowly, but his eyes didn't match his words when he said, That's what matters. And then silence stretched between us, thick and heavy with everything unsaid. I wanted to scream at him. Why now? Why do you look at me like that now, when I'm trying to move on? Why couldn't you choose me without wavering before? But instead, I just stood there, frozen in the weight of our history. After he left, I found myself drifting into the living room, staring at the fireplace. I picked up that same photo he'd touched, tracing the edges of the frame. That's when I whispered, to no one but myself, it still could happen for us, couldn't it? That's the cruelest part of love. It doesn't die cleanly. It lingers, like an ember that refuses to burn out. Meanwhile, Carter was making wedding plans in his head. He was buzzing about finding a date, a venue, wanting to surprise me with details that showed how much he listened to me, how much he loved me. And every time he smiled, every time he looked at me like I was his whole world, my heart clenched with guilt. Because he deserves the same kind of love in return. Pure, uncomplicated, unwavering. And I can't give him that. Not right now. Maybe not ever. I know people see Carter and think he's the safe choice, the steady one. But that's not fair. He's more than safe. He's kind, passionate, devoted. He's everything a woman should want. But Liam is my chaos, my history, my heartbreak, and my salvation rolled into one. He's the man who made me a mother, the man who held my hand through the darkest nights, the man who makes me feel alive, even when it hurts. So when people ask me why I can't just let him go, I don't have a neat answer. I just know that when I look at Beth, I see both of us in her smile. And sometimes, I still see a future that isn't finished yet. The next day, Ridge called me into the office, beaming about hope for the future being reinstated. He said Carter had fought for me. That Carter was my biggest champion. I was touched, of course I was, but all I could think about was how indebted I now felt. How could I possibly turn away from a man who had gone to bat for me, who had given me back not just my line, but my identity as a designer? It felt like the walls were closing in, love and loyalty tangling into one impossible knot.